Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Learn with Sanz. So today we will learn the following. So first we will learn about the entity framework code first approach, and then we will start to build the MVC core web API, and thirdly I will show you how you can simply enable codes, and lastly we will work on using the web API that we just built on a simple React app. So without wasting any time, let's start this video. So what is Entity Framework and what is Entity Framework Code for Server? So Entity Framework is the object relation mapper framework which actually help developer to work with data at a very high level of abstraction. So as a developer, you will just write the less code to work with the database. So let's say like you are working in a web project where you are first creating a domain classes that you are using for a web application, and if you actually want to create the table based on your domain classes, then using the entity framework you can easily generate the tables on your database table, and that is actually called the code first approach. So in the code first approach, you focuses on the domain of your application. So that means, like you started to create the classes that you'll be using for your web application, and the entity framework actually helps you to create the tables that you require for those domain classes. So similarly, like entity framework does the other way. I mean, like you can first work on a database table, and based on all the tables, the framework can actually generate a domain class that you require for your web project. So let's create a new web API project in Visual Studio. So I'm using Visual Studio 2020. So go to File and create new project. And we'll be using the web API template, and language will be C#. So choose this one. Next. And I'm using this folder Learn with Sanz, and let's create a project name. So for this one we will be creating a blog article. So I will say the project will be like blog article project. Next, and we will use .NET 6, and we will leave the other option as it is. So we have this blog article project now, and if you look at the controller, it has created this weather forecast controller for you. And if you expand, you can see there is a one HTTP get method, and you can also see there is a weather forecast class for you. So for this one we are not using that class and controller, so let's delete them. And let's do this one as well. Alright, so everything looks fine. So what we'll do first, so first we will install the two new NuGet package. So first will be the entity framework. So since for this example we are using the SQL Server, so we will be installing entity framework SQL Server package, and then we will also install the entity framework tools, and I will show you how we will use that tools. So go to NuGet package, and on browser search for entity framework, and we are looking for this one, SQL Server. So select the project, and for version let's use the latest one. I accept, and the next package we'll be installing will be this one, entity framework core.tools. So this will be a very helpful package which will help you to add migration. I will tell you detail about that once we reach to the point where we use that. So let's install that one as well. And once those framework are installed, you can always check in the package. So over here you can see the SQL server is here and the tools is also here. Tools is also showing there, so it means those packages are successfully installed. Okay, the next step will be creating the domain class. So for this project, for blog article, we'll need a domain class. So first, let's create a folder and name it models. And over here, we will create our new class called article. So article, and let's add some properties for our article. So the first one will be ID, and let's say the second one is title, and let's say the third one is like description maybe, and okay, maybe credit date or maybe the publish date. Let's call it the publish date, and lastly the author. Right, so we have got now the article class. Right, so we need the controller also so that we can handle those like the classes. So let's go to new controller, and for this one we'll be using the API, because so if you don't know the difference between the MVC control and API controller, MVC control is basically like used when you are returning the view, and for this one we don't need any view, so we'll be using this API controller. And I prefer to use this one so that it will give you like the scaffolder, meaning like give you the like the boilerplate, like where you have all those methods that you require, especially when you are working on a CRUD operation. So let's add this, and let's call this controller as article controller. Yeah, add it. And as I mentioned, you can see it has added the five method for us. So the first one is the get method, which is basically to return all the lists from the article. And the second one, I mean we haven't yet implemented for the article one, but we'll be doing that in a short. So HTTP get to get all the article, HTTP get with the ID to get the specific article, and post method to post the new article. HTTP put with the ID. This will be used to like update any existing article, and finally the HTTP delete to delete the article. Okay. The next thing we will need is a database context. So that class will be used so that we can use that class DB context to work with the database. So for that, let's create a new folder, and let's call it a data DB context, and let's add new DB context for our article. So let's call it article DB context, and we will be using it, and press Ctrl and dot, and sorry, this is what I was doing. So I'm just trying to resolve the naming convention. So this will be coming from the entity framework. So yes, So using the Microsoft Integer Framework core, we will be using this DB context. So it should be capital D with a small d and capital C, right? And then we will also inherit this one, the constructor, with option, because since we are using a SQL server where we will need the option to pass the, the SQL server connection string. So we will use that one so that we can pass the connection to the base class, which is the DB context. And after that, what we need is the dependency injection. So over here, we need to register this DB context. But first, before that, in this article DB context, we are missing something. So we need to have DB set and our model class, which is article, right? Article, yes. So article, and let's call this articles. So let's use the name first. Yeah. So we are using this blog article project. Right. So once it's done, what we will need to do is, as I mentioned, we need to register this DB context in this class. So builder, the services, the add DB context, right? And over here we need to pass the parameter. So let's see what we got. Service scope content. Now we are not using this one, so we will be using the one with integer framework. So Microsoft the entity framework core. Let's take this one. Add DB context. Right. So DB context, and we will be using our DB context, which is article DB context, right? And let's resolve that name as well. And over here we need to pass the option that I just mentioned before. So here it will be now option. What? Why it is doing that to me? Right, options. So that should be options, and use SQL server, use SQL server, and over here we need the connection string. So leave that as it is for now. So over here we need the connection string so that it will give that option to know which database server that we are using. So for that, let's first open our management studio so that I can create one new database for this project, and we can then connect to that database. So let's open the SQL Server Management Studio. And once you connect, go to the database, and let's put a new database, and let's blog article. Okay, so we have this database over here, and what we need next is the connection string. So I have this connection string with me, so I'll just copy and paste it here. So the database will be blog article, right? Blog article, yes. So basically, like those connection string, I like to place in the app settings so that you can read from the app setting. But for this one, let's leave as it is. Right. Okay. So what does it does? So when you register for this DB context, it's like a dependency injection. So if you don't know dependency injection, I highly recommend you go and check in the Google and read a little bit about the dependency injection. But in short, what it does is, we are registering this article DB context. So if we are injecting this class in any way, it will automatically create the new instance for us. So over here in article controller, what we can now do is we define the constructor and we can pass that. So db context, article db context, and let's resolve that name. Right. Right. And let's create this one. Private read only article db context. So once you register, like I say, when you call this article controller, it will automatically inject this context, and that will be the new instance over here, which we can use set over here. So then, using this context, we can then play with our article. So now we have this context over here. We have the article. We have our DB context, and we have also set this one. So the next step will be adding the migration. So you remember in the start when we create a project, we install this package, Microsoft Entity Framework Core.tools. So using this tool, what we can do is in the package manager, we can run this command, and I will show what it does. Add migration, and what we can do is we can put the context name. Our context name is article db context, and we need to set the path where we want to generate that migration script. So let me create a folder, and let's say it's called migration. Right. So over here I'm setting the path as migrations. So what it does, so when you run this command, the add migration will actually create a schema for you, and using that schema we can then run another command called update the database, and using that schema it will actually create the database and table that you require, whatever table that you mentioned over here. So over here we are mentioning the article db context, right? So over here you can see when we create the schema and when we run the update database scheme, it will actually create the article tables for us. So let's see that in action. So over here, enter. We need to give the name. The name will be like adding article. So this will take a minute maybe. Let's see, depends. Okay. right? So it has been started and it has been built succeeded. And if you go to the migration folder now, you will see the same article table and article context, right? So firstly, see this article table. So in the article table, like it automatically generates this class, which is inheriting from this migration. And over here, we don't need to go over there. So in the op method, you can see it's actually creating the table name articles, and that name is actually coming from this one. So whatever name you provide over here, it will use that name to create the table. And ID as like a primary column, which will be like auto increment, and the title, description, whatever like data type you use, it will smartly pick out the data type for you and like create the script that will create the article table for you. Okay, so once we have this migration created, the next thing we need to do is we need to update the database. So at the moment, if you look at the database over here, like we haven't created anything, right? So in this blog article database, we want to now create this article table based on using this migration. So what we can do is we use this command update database, and let's provide the database context. So if you have only the single DB context, then you don't need to explicitly mention the DB context name. But I prefer, for good practice, always explicitly define the DB context that you need to update. So in this case, update database context, and our context will be article DB context, right? And let's see what it does. So it has done something, right? So what it has done, so it actually used this migration script, and taking the reference of this article DB context, it has done something for you. So if you look at this database now, you will see this new article table, and this is the under migration history table that it has created. So we don't need to worry about this thing for now. Just focus on this article table, and if you look at the column, you will see it has the same ID, title, description. So whatever properties that you have defined over here, they are created over here. So inside, this is called the integer framework code first approach, where we are actually creating the model first, and based on the model we use integer framework, which is a object lesson mapper, right? And using the integer framework tool, we have generated this article class, article table. Now let's play with the controller so that it can communicate with our article table. So let's start with this HTTP get method. So at the moment it's returning to value, it's without one. We want actually the article. So we're using the article. We'll resolve that, and we will say in the context we want all the articles, right? And I prefer list. So this will give you all the list of the articles. So at the moment we don't have any record, but let's run and let's see what it does. So if you run, you can see there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 API endpoints, they are actually coming from this controller. So over here, if you see there are like HTTP get, post, put, delete. So there are five of them. So they're actually those 5 of them. So firstly, let's try with this one where we made some code changes. So over here you can see it will give you, using this swagger, it will give you something like example, like okay, what we are getting when you run this command. So it will give you the ID, title, description, publish date, and author. So you can actually use this try out and execute, and it will actually execute this command. And you can see in the response body nothing. It's because we don't have any records in the article table, right? So what we will do first is maybe let's add some record blog article in this table, and let's run that command again. So let's say edit article and let's add some records. So first article description, my first article is wonderful, published date maybe today 22/10, and the one author will be like Sanz, and let's save it and let's refresh it. So we have now one article added in the table. So if you run this command again, so let's do this one. So if you refresh this command, try out, execute, you will see now this first article. See in the response very cool. So our code is working, correct? Right. So the next thing we need is to work on, let's work on the post so that we can first add few article, and then we will work on this HTTP ID to like retrieve any specific article. So over here, same thing, we will need the article. So article, we'll create the article for it. So what we can do is we can say articles dot add an article. So this will actually give you the article whatever is coming from your form or from somewhere else in your life, and then we will use the DB context to add an article. And once we add that, we need to save it so that we save in our database. So then on this query section, right, easy. So again, let's build it and let's try, see if it works. So here, post, let's try it out, and over here we will say second article, some description, nice second article will go, and you can put anything, and date, today's date, and author maybe then this then execute, and okay, success, right? So we can go over that, try it out, and let's see, we have two articles. Yes, cool. Post, second article, right? So our post method is also done, and the third one will be retrieving any specific article. So over here we want to retrieve any specific article, and what we can do is we can say context the article dot single or default, and we can say article dot id equal to the id method. Yes, apply. So this will give you the specific article that we want. And let's try this one as well. Good, right, try it out. So let's pass the ID. So let's set to integrate. So you can see it's giving you the second article. So if you pass one, execute, it will give the first article. So that means this method is also done, right? So we have get with a specific ID, post, and now we need to fill out for put and delete so that we can update and delete the like the article. So let's go with the put one. So with the put one, what we will do is we'll first check the article. So that should be article, and we'll check if the article ID match. If it doesn't match, then maybe we can throw exception. It's up to you. Throw exception here. Article doesn't, article with ID doesn't exist. We can use right, and if article does exist, what we will do is we will use this entry, and then we can simply use article that state, and we are just calling it the entity state that it is modified, so it automatically prepares for you. That's good. And what we need to do is, of course, we need to update the database. So save change, right, and then this is void. Right. So what we are doing is we are just checking the ID, if the article ID does exist or not. If not, for the exception, it does. We are just telling, okay, we are just modifying it. So modify this article and just save and change. Right, easy. And let's also do for the delete. So and we will test both of them. So for delete, same thing. So it will smart it automatically, like one. Yes, of course, I need this one. So I will check if article equal to no. If there is no article that we want to delete, then we can do exception. So we can use the same exception, right? And then if it does exist, we can use articles and remove command, and we need to give the article that we want to delete. And once you did that, we need to again update the database, right? So cool. Now let's rebuild and let's test those methods. So let's try this put one. Try it out. Yes, we are updating the article 1, and let's we want that first article updated. Let's say also update description, first article description updated, and date, of course, and this is also also change to and let's execute. Bro, why storing session? Article 1. Oh, right. Okay. We haven't supplied the ID. So it's giving the error. Fair enough. So let's do it again. Try it out. We need to update here and not over there. So the ID that we want to update is 1. And let's call it 4. So article updated. Description. Article description updated. Public for that. And let's change the outlook to right. Execute. Right. We need to supply here as well. Okay, right. Success. Okay. So let's run this get command. Sorry that I used to say get command, but actually the get endpoint. So you can see the changes first article updated, first article updated. So this means this HTTP put is also working as expected, right? And lastly, delete method. So let's try this one. Let's try it out and let's delete this first article. Execute. And again, why? Maybe we have, let's try again. Let's see if the article does exist. Article 1. So maybe we have double click that method. So let's do that. So let's try for this too. And this one. Try out. Yeah. 2. Execute. Right. Okay. So let's try this one again. See, there is no data. So yeah, of course, I think I have developed, I execute this one as well. So it calls the delete method twice. So you can see we have successfully, done all the, the CRUD operation, which will be like adding, deleting, updating, and what else, posting, right? So personally, if you are working on an actual project, I would prefer you use the tasks, so that you can utilize that parallel processing things, which will eventually improve your, web API performance. So let's go back to our controller and let's use this task. And let's use this async. And so once you do release asynchronously, you need to import using Microsoft Entity Framework Core, right? So when you use the async and await, and the stocks, what it does, it actually create this operation in a different thread, and which will eventually improve your performance. So I personally prefer using tasks. So let's convert for all of them. article. Same for this one. Yeah. Okay, so one more last time, let's test all the changes just to make sure that we haven't break anything. Alright, so you can see we have used the entity code first approach where we created the article class first, and then we created the article DB context, and using the entity framework we actually create the article table in the database. So guys, this video is quite long, so I decided to split this video into two. So in my next video I will show you how we can utilize the web API that we just built in a sample React app, and we will also see how the cores play in that role. So wait for my next video where I will show you the cores and also show you, the utilization of this web API in the same sample React app.